Hello everyone, welcome back to another beautiful recipe today. One of my favorite because the meat we will use today is definitely the favorite meat that I've always chosen for the special occasions, let's say. We want to do to these beautiful lamb chops, so these beautiful lamb racks as we use them. We want to give a little touch of a bit of Middle Eastern sort of flavor, Middle Eastern spices that we're gonna use for the side dish for it. We have chosen one of our favorite combination, which is lamb chops and eggplants, or aubergine, wherever you come from. You might know them for different names. Eggplants, which are particularly good because they are very dynamic vegetable. You can use them in hundreds of ways, from grilled to fried, to stew. In fact, today we are going to use them to do a sort of Middle Eastern baba ganoush, our way. So not the real, let's say, way to do the baba ganoush, but our way to do oven baked half eggplants and turn them into a beautiful baba ganoush, spiced up with cumin, fennel seeds, and fresh herbs such parsley and mint. We are going to finish up the whole dish with some lovely little dressing based with yogurt. So as you can see, international recipe with a bit of Middle Eastern spice twist, but also something facing Mediterranean area. Yogurt, fresh mint, lemons. We've done a bit of a mix for you to enjoy, or for your customers to enjoy the lamb as best as we think that the recipe goes. We'll start first with the side. So for the eggplants, we will use a couple of eggplants. You will probably think that this recipe is actually done with smoked eggplants or charred grill barbecue eggplants. We try to use as much as we can our chef top Mind Maps oven. So let's not lose any more time. We start with the eggplants first because it's going to be 1 hour to 2 hours, depending from the size of the eggplant and also depending how you cut the eggplant. The thing is, and I show you straight away, the thing is, this recipe doesn't really work if you chop the eggplant really small because you want to save time. The actual way that we like to do it is to slice the eggplant in two, so basically half them this way, and we are gonna bake them whole because we want to get rid of the humidity inside, but also we need some of this humidity to make them nice and creamy. We don't want to over dry effect, otherwise we would have simply grilled them. What we will do, it's not chop them, it's not peel them or get rid of the stalk, but with the tip of your knife you can just really score them up. The reason why you score them up is because you want the seasoning to penetrate through and go through the flesh of the eggplant, but also because you want the heat to go through and cook faster. So we will do them all. Let's try not to go through the skin, because if you go through the skin and pierce it, then you will have the eggplant dripping water. And if you are doing like a big load of them, the one underneath will actually not have the same result if they are wet for the water from the eggplant on top. So just score them. If you are expert, not like me, but if you are expert, you can actually just do it like this. If not, and you are just beginning, always work safe. So basically, your eggplant down and try to keep your hand away from the knife. Here we go. Once this is done, I choose the steam fry tray because I want to, I don't want the eggplant to actually sit on a normal tray because I want the maximum air circulation. So I place my eggplant or aubergine, depending where you're from, on the tray, and we proceed with the seasoning of them. We have to do this quick. We don't have to wait hours or prepare these in advance for tomorrow, for example, because eggplant oxidize quite fast. It's not so much of a problem because this is going to be almost like charcoal color on the top, so nice and golden, and sometimes also little black spots, because we need the mixture between the stew eggplant on the bottom and the char grill dry effect. We need a mix of the two things. So first thing, we drizzle some olive oil. With your hand you can actually help yourself in letting some of the oil through. Really simple for the first step. A little bit of oil, the eggplant will absorb quite a bit because it's like a dry sponge, and it help you, this oil will help you actually caramelize and cooking through. Once I have oiled down the eggplants, first of all, a nice pinch of salt. Don't be scared with salt because eggplant will actually need quite a lot. It's quite a plain flavor vegetable. Same story for the pepper. With the pepper, I can't really do the same because otherwise I need another hand. So I will do it on the top. No worries, the flavor will actually go through anyway. We said before, a touch of Middle Eastern. I choose something a bit more Mediterranean, which is fennel seeds. Beautiful. You can decide to toast them and free out more of a anise seed flavor, or just leave them like this and they will release just enough to give that kick to your eggplant baba ganoush. So we go through with a bunch of these. See, every eggplant has its own individual taste and flavor. Cumin, quite strong flavor. I'm not going to toast it. I'm not going to use powder. I'm going to use them whole as they are, just to release enough flavor. So, bunch of cumin seeds. And this is very much all. In this recipe, it's great with parsley, with oregano, with mint, but we are going to use that later, because if I do now, there will be just flavor, but the color will be lost. So what I do is I cook them like this. If you think you need a little bit more oil, don't be scared with oil and salt in this, because that's basically the base. A nice, beautiful extra virgin olive oil, and they are ready to cook. Let's go and have a look at the cooking process or program for this. What we will do for our eggplant stew eggplant or baked eggplant, we'll cook them at a relatively low temperature, so 135 degrees. So not so high because we don't want them to burn straight away, but we'll give them a little color towards the end of the cooking. It's going to be, let's say, an hour and a half, because they are quite big. So 1 hour and 30 minutes. And we give some extraction of humidity. This will speed up the process of getting rid of that water. Water that comes off the eggplant, it's quite bitter actually. So we need that water to evaporate and leave space to flavor. I don't worry too much about the preheating, because my oven is obviously a bit preheated already, and because it's fitted with smart preheating technology. Smart preheating takes any unit, MindMaps Plus, to the right cooking temperature. Whether you are a professional or you are trying the oven for the first time, or you are doing a few eggplants or a lot of eggplants, the smart preheating will take you to the right temperature every time. We'll go and place it into our chef-top cooking chamber, and we will leave them to cook for about an hour and a half, as we said. We will see you here, because the next part of the video, or well, you stay there, don't go anywhere, because I will be back in a minute. I will take a small break and I will go back to you when the eggplants are almost done, so I can show you the finishing of that and the beginning of the cooking process for the lamb rack. See you in a minute. Here we are, just in time. Just a little time for me to do some office work, and 8 seconds to go before actually the eggplants are done. Now I'll show you the end result from our top view camera. Beautiful and golden, a little, someone would say burn, but it's more like a char grill effect, and the rest of it nice and moist and tender. Check this out. Amazing smell coming off this. You can smell many culture, and you can smell lots of different strong flavor from the garlic, strong flavor from the spices that we have used. What I'm gonna do is actually scoop off the pulp from the eggplant, because that's what we are going to use. In order to do that, I'm gonna use a spoon and put a glove on and remove it while it's hot. Because if I wait for too long, it's actually, the risk is that it sticks on the skin, and it's gonna be difficult probably to remove. So we'll place them in here, and we can remove this tray, which is still hot. And we can remove easily, as you can see, the roasted eggplant pulp. Once it's removed like this, you can decide to chop it a little bit if it's necessary, but we will check that later. The important thing is when we remove this, we remove also all the flavors and the spices that we have placed on top. You see how the bottom part, it's actually still quite pale. It is actually the double texture we wanted. Braised and stew almost on the bottom, with a bit of residual juices, and nice and crunchy almost on the top. So we place it there. We make sure that nothing stays in our eggplant skin, and we do so with all of them, starting from the side and all the way down. This will save you quite a bit of time in peeling them, and when you peel them, they'll become dark, because they'll start oxidizing when you cut them. In doing so, you also have the little free tray to bake them on. This one. Once they are all out, we can decide to have really smooth and silky baba ganoush. So maybe blending them with a touch of, I don't know, you can come up with your own ideas. If you like to put inside more olive oil or fresh herbs. What I like to do is chop them a little, just to make them more, let's say, even texture-wise, because like this, they are obviously still a little bit more stringy. What I'm gonna do, they're nice and warm still. What I'm gonna do is chop them roughly, just to give them a bit of texture, so I can spoon them. I can use a mold to put them in. If I have some left, I can add an egg and maybe a teaspoon of flour, a little bit of cream, and do like a souffle, for example. So I chop them up a bit, and when I'm happy with the beautiful texture, see now the crunchy bits, they start to mix up with the soft part, and you even up the texture as you like. When you can see that it sticks together and it stays almost in shape, for me, it's enough. Now I will prepare myself a little parsley and mint to put in, but I'm not going to put them until they are cooled down completely, because I want the mint and the parsley to stay green. That will make your dish look fresher, and also the flavor will not go bitter. They're actually not too hot at the moment, so I will take some parsley and a few mint leaves, not so many because mint is quite strong in flavor. I don't want to go too crazy in fine chopping or anything. I like chopping quite rough sometimes. Sometimes I even like shredded herbs. I don't mind to find a bigger piece of parsley, for example. In fact, I'm a fan of tabbouleh, which is quite a stringy, let's say, texture, not really chopped. So once it's done, they'll start to release the flavor. And that's all you need for your baba ganoush our way, let's say. The olive oil that we use, it's an extra virgin olive oil. It's been cooked for an hour and a half, so some of the flavors, some of the scent of the olive oil is actually gone lost during cooking. But you needed that for the cooking process. I'm gonna add another maybe teaspoon just to give that fresh olive oil flavor. Salt and pepper, I'm quite confident and positive that was quite enough. So we'll mix it through a bit. And we let it sit and rest. See how the herbs start spreading through. It's nice and smooth, but at the same time, we got some little pieces in there that you can still find some bite in a, I don't like it too creamy and flat. So when it's done, we get rid of this, actually, which I don't need. And we can start thinking about lamb. I leave the lamb, obviously you can choose the lamb according from where you are. Middle Eastern lamb, South Pacific, Australia, New Zealand lamb, North European lamb. Depending from where you choose your lamb from and what the lamb's been eating, you will have different textures and flavors. I'm gonna use actually the whole rack. I'm not gonna do charred grill chops, even though they are a great solution when you want to eat fast and when you want to have a nice crunchy result. The reason why we do rack like this is because we want to control the temperature inside a bit better. I want to be able to serve crispy outside and nice and soft and tender, almost like slow cooked inside. So what I'm gonna do is actually place the racks and season them. First of all, and then we are going to proceed with the cooking in the oven. You know better than me that to cook a piece of meat like this, two parts of cooking, two cooking things are essential. The searing off of the meat, first of all. A lot of us chefs do in a pan with a knob of butter, some garlic and sage, and then put it into the oven to cook. What we want to show you today is to mix together or stick together with these two processes at once. So what we are going to do is help ourselves with a multi-point core probe, which is fitted in all the Mind Maps series, Chef Top and Baker Top. Why not? Some bakers and some pastry chefs, they still like to use our core probe. So it is a multi-point core probe that gives me maximum precision in reaching temperature and telling me when my lamb chops are cooked inside. But first of all, we need to sear off our lamb at a higher temperature, and then the temperature will drop. It's a funny game. The temperature of the oven will slowly drop. The temperature of the lamb, the core temperature on the lamb will raise. In the moment when the desired temperature is reached, can be 48, can be 52, depending from how you like it. I choose 50 just to do something that can be good for anyone. But it's just a matter of selecting the grade of cooking that you like and just tell Chef Top Mind Maps that that's what you want to reach. So if we look at our control panel, what I actually do is preheat the oven, as I always do. If I look into my programs, for example, I should have I don't, fine. We're going to 5 minutes for roasting at a temperature of, it can go from 220 to 240, depends also from how much lamb I'm doing and how big the lamb is. I'm gonna choose 235, 100% extraction. I do this to sear off quickly. That's the reason why I leave fan speed number 4. To sear off quickly the meat and not to lose all the juices that are inside, because juices are flavored. After these 5 minutes, I'll move into my second step, which is the actual cooking step. And instead of using time, you see, I'm gonna use temperature. I'm gonna move the temperature to 50. So you see I can be more precise with plus and minus. The temperature of the cooking chamber, I don't want it too high because otherwise the risk is that I dry out too much the lamb chops. So I'll move the temperature to, let's say, 180, 170. See how easy it is to actually reach the right temperature. And a little bit of extraction of humidity, just like this. So what the oven will do is sear off the lamb chops for 5 minutes, and then do in the next step, follow the core probe, follow the temperature inside my lamb chops, and tell me exactly when the lamb chops have reached 50 degrees. At this point, I'll start my program and I'll season the lamb. So I will go for little olive oil, not so much, because the outside part of the lamb is quite a fatty texture. Salt and pepper. Simple as. Season the other side as well. And we are ready to go. I took the lamb out of the fridge for about half an hour before cooking it. So the cooking process shouldn't be too challenging for the oven, but even if you want to work directly from the fridge, like the restaurant do, you can work directly from the fridge, season, and go in. The oven will automatically adjust the settings for you. Right, once we are done with this, I will use a bacon tray, which is specifically designed to cook meat and to make sure that the meat doesn't sink in the fat. And also, the ventilation and heat will go underneath the meat, not just at the top. Finish to nice and seasoned. And we place them 3 per tray. Beautiful. We are ready now to bake or roast our lamb racks. As I said before, I'm going to use the core probe, and I'm going to place the core probe in one of them. As long as they're all the same size, they will be cooked at the same way. If you realize there's smaller ones, then the trick I can give you is to place always the core probe on the smaller item that you're cooking. And in the end of the cooking process, when the smaller item have reached 50 degrees, the screen will give you the possibility to move the core probe to a bigger item, and so on. So you can optimize, even if you're doing big cuts of roast beef, if you're doing pork shoulders, if you have smaller and bigger pieces, thanks to MindMap and his multi-point core probe, you will be able to cook the smaller item first and then remove it and place the core probe into the next item. So we'll place them in. As you can see, the core probe is being removed from the cooking chamber in order for me to don't burn myself when I decide to pick it up and place it into the meat. So I will go into my lamb chops, making sure that the core probe is thoroughly in, and initiate the cooking process. Now I've got a few minutes to clean up before coming back and plate up. So we got our eggplant mix of beautiful Mediterranean, Middle Eastern, Italian, bit of everything, sort of baba ganoush. We got our lamb cooking. The oven will give me a few minutes to, I'll give to the oven a few minutes to understand what is going on in terms of temperature. And in a few minutes, the oven will also tell me the estimated time of the end of the cooking process. So for now, I don't know how long it's gonna take, but in 3 to 4 minutes, the oven will also display me the residual time of the cooking process. So another smart, very smart feature of these ovens, but hey, they are robots, they are smart, but they need a couple of minutes to understand what's going on, just like us when we wake up in the morning. All right, so I'll clean up a little and I'll see you here when everything is done for the plating and for the, and for the end of the recipe. I'll see you in a minute. Back in the kitchen, a few seconds before the lamb chop has reached 50 degrees. As I said before, you like it more cooked, less cooked. You like it cut and then char grill again to avoid that bloody effect if you don't like it. 52 degrees, 54 for the more picky ones. For now, we go and see what kind of result we had, and I will move it directly into some tissue paper. So let's have a look. So we bring this to take our core probe off. Core probe and leave it inside the oven, and we will move our lamb chops directly in here. Nice and golden brown. As you can see, the first step that I was talking about is for searing, so to leaving all the juices inside and to create a little bit of crunchy on the outside. However, if you like it more golden or more seared off, you are free now, for example, to place it back on a hot surface for a couple of minutes to golden up even better. But for me, I wanted the classic effect of when you go to banquets, the bigger the volume, sometimes people think that the quality goes down, but instead we are always looking at high quality of standard, high quality of repeatable standard as well. So either you are doing a couple of portions a la minute in your restaurant, or you are doing a full load in a big trolley unit, UNOX need to give you the possibility to work with a machine which is reliable in terms of quality standard and in terms of sustainability. Making one rack like this juicy, tender and beautiful, everyone can do. Me, my mother, not experienced chefs. The problem is when we want to keep the standard that we give to our customer once for longer. So repeatable standard is the key. And definitely Chef Top Mind Maps Plus, it's a machine that can support you in doing so. So now our lamb chops are finished to cook. The good thing about meat to do is always rest our meat after cooking, whether it's beef, chicken, lamb, anything in our opinion, in my opinion, need to be rest in order not to having running liquid and blood all over the plate, but also because as soon as it comes out, apart from the fact that it's too hot, you can't really eat it right now, but the meat tends to be tense. So we need to relax a little bit before we serve. We just leave it here, and we can start thinking about plating. So I choose quite a large plate because of the big variety of things that I'm gonna put on the plate. Not because I'm gonna plate a lot of lamb. I'm gonna put 2 or 3 chops as a normal serve for a main course. But I like a large dish to be able to have enough space to build up nice and beautiful color and finishing as well. Another thing that I have prepared earlier, which I have prepared aside, is a red wine balsamic vinegar reduction. What I did is use a little pot and place 1 cup of balsamic vinegar. Even cheap one is good for this purpose because you don't need a really structured balsamic vinegar. Put some rosemary, sage, a piece of cinnamon stick, and a tablespoon of sugar. And the result that I have, it's a thick sort of mixture. In this case, you don't need so much of this. With this, you can garnish a lot of plates because 1 drop of this can free a lot of flavor, and 1 drop of this is enough for the whole lamb chop if it's used properly. So I'm gonna use some of this. I'm gonna use the beautiful baba ganoush of eggplant that we have prepared, and I'm gonna do a little yogurt, minty yogurt dressing as well. So what I'm gonna do is put some gloves on and proceed first of all with the plating of the baba ganoush. I'm gonna use some of the baba ganoush for as a side sort of component of the dish, and some of it to keep and a spoonful of it to keep the chops from going everywhere. So this is some. See how nice and shiny it is, because the olive oil, because the herbs have been put inside at the end. So another spoonful of this. Nice and well plated. And this is enough as the side dish of the baba ganoush. For the yogurt, I told you before I was gonna do a little yogurt sort of dressing. Not so much, because literally I need a spoonful of this. This is quite fatty but also sour, so it helps in the Greek at least culture, helps to even up the wild taste of the lamb. Nowadays the lamb farmers, lamb culture all around the world have developed a way to feed the lamb and to feed the lamb fresh grass rather than just dry. So the taste of lamb, especially young lamb, is not as strong as adult sheep or lamb. So in there we will put a little bit of mint, which I have here. You can use the bigger leaves for the seasoning. As soon as you cut the fresh mint, you can feel this beautiful sweet and zesty flavor. Little lemon juice in to balance up the yogurt. Pinch of salt and pepper. I can use this and prepare this almost like a runny sauce. I like to keep this away from the lamb because people can dip into if they like. If they don't, they just leave it on the side. Once this is done, 1 teaspoon and we can proceed with see the inside of the lamb. As I said, 50 degrees. If you realize now that the lamb is a little bit too rare for your liking, no problem. The important is not to overcook it. So if you are scared of ending up with an overcooked lamb, that could be a problem. Underdone lamb can always be fixed up at the end. So I will pick this one. And go through the bone like this. You see the thermal fall, so the high temperature in the beginning and the low temperature on the cooking process give me the possibility to have one even color, not to have the burn part on the outside and maybe very rare on the inside. Even is what you want. You can use this program as I showed you, or you can try to use a Delta T program as well if you sear off in a pan, for example. So I'm gonna use 2 slices because they are quite big. So I'm going to use these 2. Before plating, as I said, that little reduction that I prepared, some people like to, I'm not gonna put very much, so I don't worry about people don't liking it. Maybe on this, I will specify on my menu that it's balsamic vinegar flavored. So if someone don't like it, maybe I won't put it in. As I said, you can do your balsamic vinegar, and if you don't do it too thick, use it for keep it for days, even for a week, in a squeeze bottle. Probably not in the fridge because it will harden up too much, and you won't be able to squeeze it anymore. As you can see, I've rested a little bit of lamb on the paper. I'm gonna use a wedge of lemon in the middle of the plate. Getting rid of all the seeds part and the part that I don't need. And then I'm ready to plate. Little olive oil. Try to do this quite fast because when you are plating, you always need to consider that you need to get out with a nice and hot dish. Double lamb chop like this. And because I was telling you earlier about Mediterranean culture and we have some pistachio from Bronte, Sicily. I could use them as they are, but I prefer, if I'm able to slice a couple because they release more flavor, especially after they've been toasted. So it's almost like a shave pistachio flakes. That's enough for a bit of crunchy result. Need to give a bit of color on this dish. If you want to use some pomegranate, if you want to use even some berries, such as red berries, for example, you can. For me, a couple of mint tips. Try not to go too large on the outside of the plate. And that's very much it for this beautiful lamb, which deserve to be eaten like this. Not so much side dishes or anything. If you want to serve with a side dish, you are free to offer to your customer a side dish card. Little oil. And this is lamb rack turned into lamb chops our way with baba ganoush, Mediterranean style, a little chunky, yogurt dressing, pistachio nuts. Enjoy. Bon appetit.